This House stands in a very high status under the Constitution, and the mandate of summoning the Cabinet Secretaries for purposes of responses to questions by honorable members is a very, very important role that, as we have previously stated in the House, the Cabinet Secretaries, who at any given time are required to appear, have appropriate notice, and the questions they are supposed to come and answer already availed to them in good time. For the honorable CSS not to appear this morning, Mr. Speaker, some of them with very flimsy reasons, is an utter disrespect of the House. And being a member of the House that has come in this morning to ask questions regarding not only the interest of the people whom I in particular represent, but for the entire country, it is very unfortunate that we do not have them appearing in the House. At the risk, Mr. Speaker, of being creating an extension of the lamentations that you previously had, I have looked at the two letters from the two CSs. One, Mr. Speaker, which has been received after the House started from the CS of Health, has got an explanation that the Cabinet Secretary is indisposed. This, Mr. Speaker, from the previous resolutions of this House, do not stand the reasons why a Cabinet Secretary is unable to appear before the House. Number two, Mr. Speaker, we had yesterday in the SBC not received this letter. The standing orders of this House, which applies to all who are required to appear, requires them to have submitted any excuse or letter in good time to justify their non-appearance. This is a fly and an utter disrespect in the House for the CS to write and say she's merely indisposed. I would want to agree with the Honorable Senator Chute and the rest of my colleagues who have said that it is high time we censor these Cabinet Secretaries who have shown disrespect to the House. We have a right to discuss their conduct and censor them, Mr. Speaker, because if they are unable to appear before the House and for no reason at all that is justifiable, then they have no business being holders of such high offices. The other one, Mr. Speaker, which is one of the reasons why we also should call them out, is a letter received yesterday, which the House Business Committee rejected, by the Honorable CS for, this is what the CS said in the letter, that, Mr. Speaker, today they were to attend to a prior scheduled ministerial event on black rhino ear notching and fitting of monitoring devices. This is something that a Cabinet Secretary can delegate to a person of the lowest rank in that particular ministry. It cannot be a reason for a CS to say he is abandoning a responsibility to appear before the House to go and fit in monitoring devices to a rhino in the national park. Mr. Speaker, this is the sort of behavior that we have said before, that these people, the moment they get into office, they forget that they are holding such offices for the interest of the Kenyans. And the best interest of Kenyans can only be served by appearing before this House to answer questions of national importance that represent the people who are represented by the senators in this particular House. This particular letter, Mr. Speaker, was rejected, and the CS was asked to appear. We have not received any response to the letter that had indicated to him or her that we are not buying the excuse. And, Mr. Speaker, it is high time that, as I've said, we censor these Cabinet Secretaries for them to appreciate the importance of appearing before the Senate, because if they take the House the way they do with disrespect, they definitely cannot take their responsibility as Cabinet Secretaries as serious as it should be. And we've got so many Kenyans who are capable, willing, and ready to serve in such offices. So, Mr. Speaker, even as we regret the time that we have wasted this morning, we also call upon the authorities relevant to call upon these irresponsible CSS to appear before the House. We are struggling right now with the issue with regards to the health sector, the SHIF and SHA, Mr. Speaker. This would have been a very important opportunity for the Cabinet Secretary for Health to explain to the Kenyans the situation as is. Yesterday we had, and we saw the national news carrying a position taken to suspend the CEO of SHA, and it is a time that Kenyans need to understand the things or the positions or options the government is taking in order to make sure that they streamline the representations that we have in the Ministry of Health. And if the Cabinet Secretary can just wake up in the morning and say, I'm indisposed, I therefore cannot appear before the Senate, Mr. Speaker, we don't buy it, we do not accept it, it's not acceptable, and we are calling them out because they are failing Kenyans, they are failing the government that is highly expected to perform and support the programs that help the people of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, it is not acceptable at all, and we do not, as a House, condone such kind of character and behavior by the Cabinet Secretary. Mr. Speaker, I join my colleagues in calling them out and say this is improper, and I thank you.